All right, let me tell you what is the major problem with this whole idea of, as many women as possible. Okay, so the very first time I ever heard this idea or this concept or this approach, this sort of zeal and zest for going after, right, something that is taken very lightly, unfortunately. I was a kid and I remember going to like family parties and I had cousins that would be drinking and they would whisper things to me in my ear, I guess dropping what they called game. And they would say things like, uh, you know, how do you say it? The I don't want to use inappropriate language, but like the V is just V, right? Meaning like it's all the same. Or that approach of trying to do that with as many women as possible, right? And I think to myself, the people that say those things, obviously that's something that they would wish to be able to do. And maybe because they haven't been able to do that, can they say that? Okay, so I hope that makes sense. The idea is that just because you can doesn't mean you should. Okay, so you're a kid, so you take this in, this whole mentality of hit and run, right? And I took it for what it was, right? I thought it was, a tenet to live by, some sort of a manly thing to do, right? And the thing is, I got to that point, right, where finally I'm quote unquote a man and I'm out there in the, willing and dealing in the sexual marketplace and whatnot. I'm trying to, get involved and do all these things, right? And the thing is, when I got to the point where I tried to espouse that sort of state of mind and that mentality and that gusto for going after it, was that I realized like, wow, like this is very destructive, you know, for a lot of guys, for me in particular. But I also think to myself, like the people that say that are on the side of it looking in. They think it's very relatively sexy, right? To say I can do these things with as many people as possible. And like I said, I've been in it, right? So I'm speaking to you from experience, right? I've been in it and it's not so glamorous, right? It seems like it on the other side, but once you get into it, you realize it's not really something that you can take lightly. Because I'll give you the positive, right? The positive is what? That you can, that it makes it easier to move past a heartbreak, a tryst, a date gone awry, things of that nature. Yes, it could help you get past a crush, someone that doesn't text you back, getting ghosted, things of that nature. Sure. But the problem is that when you do indeed find someone that you want to stay long term with, it's difficult because you wire your brain for the short term. And I think that is the most destructive thing about it. And just the fact that you're just like exchanging energy with so many different people, right? If you're gonna stretch it to its logical conclusion, is like you're gonna take every opportunity you can to take advantage of whatever opportunities you have. And I think that's the biggest mistake with people that adopt this mentality, is because they haven't been in a position to really take every opportunity that they can get, right? It's easy to say that, right? It's easy to tell that to a kid, because I'm like thinking to myself, man, what a terrible thing to advise a kid that has no idea what the world's gonna be like. But then at the same time, I understand like no one wants to get taken advantage of. Of course, that is something to be concerned with. But I tell you what, if you are one of those guys that's like, I wish I could do that, I wish I could get into that, I would tell you to maybe think about this. And I think this should stay with you, right? It's just because you can doesn't mean you should. I think there's more power in not exercising an opportunity than to actually exercise it. And at the end of the day, do as you wish. If you really think you're gonna get some benefit out of it, so be it. Try it out, give it a go, see how you feel. But I tell you what though, just make sure that you don't get eaten alive, right? Or you bite off more than you can chew, or it's hard to get out of that frame of mind where you're kind of in the fast lane when it comes to chasing women, right? Hopefully you can find a way to slow down, maybe get into it and get out and say, okay, at least I did it, but it's not something I see myself doing in the long term. But I think, like I said, I think you'll thank me for this one. I think this is a gem. I really do think that mentality of trying to get as many women as you can and sleep with as many women as you can, I think is a terrible idea, right? Because you also have to think about this. When do you stop? When do you draw the line? At what number, right? So that mentality will you essentially could do that for the rest of your life, or I try at least to do that for the rest of your life, and really get nowhere at the end. It is not a long-term solution. It's a short-term mentality. It's a very degen mentality. I'm gonna say that up front, because the people that tell me this stuff were not refined. They were not into anything related to being better people. They're people that you could talk to 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and a lot of the ideas that they had back then, they still might have now. I don't know, because I don't really interact with these people anymore, but I can almost guarantee you that they haven't changed. And maybe that idea, if I was to broach the topic once more, they may say they still agree with that. And if they had the chance, they may still try to do that. So what that tells you is that these people they're not learning. They're not willing to grow, learn, adapt, and move on. So I think you need to be very careful about what you wish for. Okay, so let's just say you do get to that point where you can, sleep with as many women as you can. If you get there, and when you get there, you may not want to do that. And I'm telling you from experience, I wanted that. I derived a lot of value from that idea. And then I realized I had to discard it because it really wasn't serving me any purpose, right? I had moved past it. I thought it was child's play. I thought it was a young man's game. I wanted more from life. I wanted more from a partner. And that just wasn't it for me. So anyways, I hope this helps, and I'll see you in the next one.